Check now. Go ahead.
Okay, is that all right?
So the first thing that I'm going to ask you is your name.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you how long you've lived in Monterey.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say, so what was it like to be a girl here?
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll figure it out from
Yeah,
there.
figure it out.
Basically, people just like to hear stories.
Right.
Have you ever been interviewed before?
No.
Well, I find that it's helpful to hold a glass of water in your hand just
Okay.
because it
Just
gives you something to hold on to.
Okay. Good advice. Yeah, I'll probably be.
It'll be great. I'll tell you, you have good things to talk about, and I am really eager to hear them. So,
Okay.
Wendy, you're just going to tell us when we're ready?
Go for it.
Oh, okay.
So, good afternoon, good morning. Let's start over. Hello. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Would you mind introducing yourself for the viewers?
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm Judy. Bidwell, Shaw, Hayes. So, my family has been here for many, many years, honestly.
So you were born in Monterey.
No, I was born in New York City, and my mother's family lived in Great Barrington, the Bidwells. My grandfather was a lawyer, and he also was one of the original, the owners or entrepreneurs that started the Wheeler and Taylor.
Oh.
Yeah, he was one of the initial partners, and then he became a state representative. So
Is Wheeler and Taylor a real estate company?
it is now, yes. Yeah, I think it may have always been.
So perhaps they were developers of Great Barrington?
They were, yes, yeah. But the family, of course, has been here for generations. So, but my mother and father lived in New York initially, and that's where I was born. And then they moved back here. I think I was probably 2 or 3 by the time they moved, and we lived in Great Barrington for many years, but always came out here to the lake for the summer. My oldest memories of that, of being at the lake, was maybe 3 or 4 years old, just playing in the water. And I learned to swim, obviously, very early. My mother was taught swimming.
Oh, that's great.
So, yes, we all learned to swim very early on.
Did you have brothers or sisters?
I have 2 sisters, both younger. And the summer cottage, so-called, was a boathouse that belonged in the family, the Bidwell family. And it was also called the Slab Shack. It was just a little sort of one room with 2 sides of porch. Inside there was just a dressing area and a little kitchen area. And that's where we spent the summer, every summer. And I remember watching the camp kids walk by later on, probably when I was 12 or 13. And I remember saying to my mother, I want to go to camp. And my mother said, you are at camp. This is camp. So, so the summers were wonderful. And I think we moved back here permanently in Monterey at about the end of my 8th grade year. Because I remember going to Searles, being bused to Searles through high school. So that was in Great Barrington.
Okay, that's the school that's on Bridge Street that's maybe going to be demolished.
No, yeah, it would be too bad.
It would be, I agree.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my history of being here. And
When you were growing up, in the summers you were playing in the lake. In the winters, did you ski or ice skate?
I skated, and that was in the field right across from the high school. I remember we lived up on Hollenbeck Avenue, which was a hike after school. In those days, everybody had to walk to school. We didn't get bused. And they would make a skating rink in the wintertime across in the field. And I remember just walking home after dark sometimes with my feet so frozen I could hardly put one foot in front of the other. But yeah, skating was wonderful. It was really fun.
And then there were, I assume, dances at the school.
I don't remember too many dances. The basketball team was very active, and I never played, but a number of the women did. And I would attend the games, but I was more into softball.
Okay.
I liked playing softball than the other sports. So, and then we moved back here. Well, I'm trying to think how that happened. I guess because my mother built her permanent little home where the slab shack was. And that was in 1959, but I was already in college by that time.
Where did you go to school?
Well, for 3 years I went to Blackburn College, which is in Illinois, and that's a liberal arts school. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and then I decided I really wanted to go into teaching. So I transferred and went to Westfield, which was then State Teachers College, now Westfield University.
Was it co-ed?
It was co-ed for the first time. The year that I went in was the first time I don't think there was a dorm for the men yet. And I, being a transfer student, I didn't live on campus. I had a room in town, but I had friends who offered their room. So I spent a lot of time on campus. And when I graduated, I got a teaching job in New Jersey, which is where I met my husband. So.
And then when did you move back here?
When we came back periodically, my husband was in the Army. He was in service, and he retired in 1977, and that's when we moved back here permanently. When he retired.
Had your mom stayed in the house on Lake Garfield?
Yes, she lived there until her death. Yeah. Yes. And my husband just fell in love with it the first time he was here, and we've been here ever since.
Well, you've seen some changes in Monterey.
I have. Some of them, many of them good. Some of them I would have preferred not.
Tell me.
Well, I think some of these humongous buildings, homes,
I call them McMansions.
McMansions that are going up are just not necessary in a small rural area like this.
Right.
And the ones that are so obvious, sticking out of the mountains on the hillsides, just, it's a little sad to me to see what has happened to the hillsides, the mountains, the trees. So.
And what things do you like?
What do I like? I like art, number one. I've been painting for about 20 years, just amateurish.
But that's great. What medium do you paint?
Well, I started with watercolor, and I took some workshops, and I liked it all right, but then I discovered pastels.
Really?
And that's what I've been doing ever since. So
do you use sticks or pencils?
I have a lot of the pastel pencils, the colored pencils. I went through all of those, but I really love the soft and the harder pastels. And I joined the Art League, which was then Sheffield Art League, now Housatonic Valley Art League. And I think.
Do you have classes or just paint together?
Well, there are workshops, and we meet. There are shows. They would sponsor 2 shows, usually in the summertime. And
that's great.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. So,
do your children come and visit you up here?
Not during the winter.
Well, I'm not surprised at that.
Though they'd like to, I guess. But with the kids in school, I have 5 grandchildren. And
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And the twins are just starting college, and the 2 younger ones are still in school. So they don't come up much in the wintertime. They're here all summer.
Ah.
And my other daughter and her husband are in education out where she lives out on the East Coast. So they're in school all winter.
Well, the summer is when it's so glorious here.
It's gorgeous, and they love being here.
Do you raise plants or vegetables or?
I do. I love gardening. That's one thing I wouldn't have thought of, but yes, I love gardening. I love my plants, and I have a number of house plants which do very well for me. They have a nice sunny spot, and I have a couple of raised beds out in the backyard that I try to grow my vegetables. Some do better than others, but I don't have a lot of sun in the backyard, so I have to kind of be picky as to what I think will grow in that particular area. And I've been pretty successful.
Do you do still lives of the things that you've raised?
No.
Do you do primarily landscapes or portraits?
Yeah, landscapes are my preference. I do still life, but I'm not a very detailed person.
Mm-hmm.
So I find I have a hard time controlling details. So I stick more with the more impressionistic kind of
Yes.
thing. So still life is difficult for me, but the landscapes I can kind of get away with things. so they're more fun.
Well, one of the things that everybody loves about this area is the preponderance of fresh fruit and vegetables. And do you have particular recipes or things that were passed from your mother to you that you like to make?
No, my dear mother never liked to cook.
Mine didn't either.
Well, she grew up in a household where she didn't have to cook, so she never really learned to cook, and therefore I never really learned to cook. So my husband was the cook for
Very good.
many years. He never used a recipe, but he just created, and it was wonderful until he got ill, and then was not able to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was a great cook. But I have learned now to cook, and I use a lot of the vegetables, and I get a lot of the organic vegetables, and of course when I grow my own myself, they're organic. So I've learned a lot. I watch the cooking channels and the Food Network, and I get ideas, and then I change them. But they give me a base to start with. So yeah, I enjoy the cooking.
We're so lucky to be here. There's so many fresh eggs available and all of the great things that surround us.
Yes. Yes.
So, may I interject?
Please.
Could you, and we can turn this around, but sort of give your perspective, your history of what you know about your family's ancestry. Did we go to that?
About the Bidwell.
The Bidwells and the Shaws.
Yeah.
Just what you remember or what you were told about your family, like tales of, how did you know how you were connected?
If you'd ask my husband, he'd be able to tell you the whole thing.
And he's
knows
not.
more about it than I forget easily. I mean, I hear things, but sometimes they don't sink in.
Do you remember stories that grandparents or parents told about the Bidwell family or the Shaws? I'm just trying to get a perspective on.
No, well, I never knew my grandparents, any of my grandparents, so.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you were living here you were familiar with the area for decades before the Bidwell House Museum, which is only 25 years old,
Yeah.
came into being. Have you been involved with that at all?
No, it's interesting because my aunt was very involved with it. But my mother never had an interest in it, and I guess I just kind of naturally followed her and didn't. But my aunt had done a whole genealogy of the whole, going way back. At one point, I think she went back as far as something like Charlemagne or William the Conqueror, I think.
That's a genealogy already. Wow.
And,
Who is your aunt?
Pardon?
Who is your aunt?
Margaret Bidwell White. And it's in her house that we lived for up until about 8 years ago, in the old house.
Is that on Lake Garfield?
No, that's right up here on Cherringham Road.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an old house, and my husband did a lot of work to try to fix it up, but nevertheless, we had to move out of it, and we're in a little ranch style, which is attached to it, which is fine. But my aunt lived there. Well, that was another, it was originally a house that was suitable for the workers of Lake Farm, which is on the corner of Beartown and Tyringham Road, that big
Okay.
farm, which was a Bidwell farm.
Mhm.
And from what I understand, that was my great-grandfather farm. And the house that my aunt and then subsequently we did live in were the workers
Mhm.
for the farm. So I remember that part of it. And I also know that my my grandmother and my grandfather were hunters, because when we moved into the house,
Really?
over the fireplace was a deer head, which they had shot somewhere along the way. And needless to say, we had it removed when we moved in. It wasn't anything we really wanted to look at. But yeah, they were hunters. And,
So
but they don't.
you didn't know them?
No, I didn't know any of either side,
Mhm.
father or mother. So,
Because your folks had moved to New York.
right. Yeah, and I think,
How did you travel back and forth when you were?
from Great Barrington here?
Yes.
In what I would call a jalopy.
Uh-huh.
I remember, and I would get car sick.
Oh,
Sitting
the
in
road is
back.
winding.
Yeah, and it used to take us hours to travel from Great Barrington to Monterey because the car didn't go very fast and the roads were small and windy, short, So, yeah, it was an all-day trip to get out here.
Did you come out in the winter?
No. But we always couldn't wait for the first day of summer, the day that school was out. Then we would come back.
Oh my goodness, you didn't waste any time.
No, my mother loved being here. So that was when she built her house, that was when she was really happiest to be here full time. And the little house, that's the house that my older daughter now has, she and her husband. But the little, what now is the log cabin, was also built by my mother's brother-in-law, my mother's sister's husband.
Okay.
They built that little cottage. And at that time, they owned up to the dam area at the lake.
Yes.
And I remember when they wanted to put
Was the beach public at that time?
there was no beach.
Oh.
No, there was no beach. When they decided the town wanted to do the dam, they took that area by eminent domain from my uncle, and he never forgave them. And he decided he never wanted to come back here.
Oh my goodness.
I know, he was, yeah. So, and then it went to their daughter, my cousin, and then it went to, she moved out of the area, went to a couple of friends of my mother's, and then when they both were gone, my daughter took it over, bought it from the estate of the previous owner. But the beach was given by that owner when they wanted to put in the beach. That was so that was all part of the Bidwell property. So right now we're down to 2 little plots.
Oh.
But they love it. The kids love it. They love it. They love it.
That's marvelous. It's
Yeah.
really a treat for them.
Yeah.
And how are you related to Marie Bidwell Loix?
She is a second or third cousin. Her father and my mother's father, I think, were cousins. So we are cousins sort of removed. But that's, we still consider ourselves cousins, even though we're not real close cousins.
Right. Do you know how many Bidwells are around by any chance? Just
I don't think there are any at this point. think Marie is the last, and her daughters, but that's about it.
Is your family, we live right behind Blue Hill Road, and there's a cemetery there. Is your family buried in that cemetery?
Yeah.
It's,
Blue Hill Road.
it's very charming.
Yeah. Yes,
Lovely.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, that's, there are two other cemeteries. One is up on Mount Hunger Road, I believe it is. It's an old city. My father, when my husband retired, he became the official flag for veterans, putting the flags out in the cemeteries for the veterans. And I remember we'd take the kids, they were fairly young then, and go to these other two cemeteries, which are out and about.
Mm-hmm.
The Mount Hunger Road, and then there's, the Corshire. Well, that's Corshire. There's one other that I can't place right now. Oh, I know, up on Beartown Road, of course. I should know. That's where there's a lot of Bidwells up there. And we would go put the flags out.
That's lovely. Are there ever family summer picnic reunions or?
No, the Bidwell family unit, not local Bidwells, but universal Bidwells have reunion every year. And in 19, I think what year it was, around 80, I think, the Bidwell reunion was in England.
Oh, that's exciting.
So it was fun. It was really fun.
You and your husband went
We
over?
went, yes.
That's great.
Yeah, it was lovely. And they toured us. The tour consisted of all the towns where there were Bidwells living. So it was a historical tour. It was wonderful.
That's really special.
Yeah. And we've been to a few of them. We hosted the one in 2000. That was at a birthday, was some birthday for the Bidwell house here, 20th maybe. Could that be right? And at that time, Eastover was the place to go. And that's where we had our reunion headquarters. And we came out to the Bidwell house, had a whole celebration there, and a lot of the people went to the cemeteries. And it was a weekend thing, but it was just so packed full of fun, people and fun. And as I said, we were the hosts, and it was wonderful. It was such a fun thing.
Well, there's such a part of working with the history of the area. I really appreciate you sharing all that. That's great. I've really enjoyed this chat.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too.
Good. Estavian?
Hmm?
But now, of course, we'll think of the thing that you wanted to say that we didn't have a chance to say.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted?
Why don't we get a little more water for us,
Okay.
Just think about it a minute. Last night we went around the Thanksgiving table and said what we're thankful for, and I couldn't think of a thing to say. And I woke up this morning and I thought of what I wished I had said last night. So it seems to be that way.
I have something. Wendy, what else would be helpful?
I think that it's a time for Judy to sort of put down things that you might want your grandchildren to know about.
That's a
your,
good one.
what if your grandchildren were sitting here, like if Nadia was your granddaughter, what would you want to tell your granddaughter about your life here? And
Nadia, what grade are you in? Sixth? So it's in sixth grade. Like, did you all have recess?
Yeah. My youngest, the only girl, granddaughter, is the same age as Nadia. She's in sixth grade, so she's the youngest. I don't know what else that I can talk about.
I don't know. One of the things that's been happening lately as we've been talking about this event is people start to talk about characters in town, like Mr. Abercrombie. Like everybody's got a story. Mr. Abercrombie was our librarian for 50
You know
years?
Mr.
Oh, I
Abercrombie?
did indeed. Yes, I did indeed. He was a sketch. So, and one of my earliest memories, for some years, my aunt and uncle, whose house we lived in, I would spend some time with them. And at that time, I must have been maybe 10, 9 or 10. They used to have sing-alongs in the tea room. And speaking of Mr. Abercrombie, his sister, Gracie Minor, who was married to Julius Minor, was the pianist. She was the organist in church, too. And I sang in the choir from the time I was little.
Oh.
But she would play the piano, and I don't remember any of the songs. They may have been hymns, they may have just been rousing songs, but once a week or so, the town would get together, and Gracie would play the piano, and everybody would sing.
How much fun. Where was the tea house?
It's the one right across from the store.
Okay.
It's not in use anymore at this point.
Right next to the church.
Yeah, right next to the
Was
church.
the general store in operation when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, Julius and his twin brother, Lester, ran the store. Julius was very outgoing, Lester was quiet as he could be. It was like pulling teeth to get him to talk. And I remember as probably 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, something like that, or high school, they used to get in the old hit parade song things. And I don't know how they ever made any money there because nobody bought anything. We would stand, and I would stand and memorize the words to the hit song, the hit parade, and never buy one. I don't remember how much they cost, probably more than what I had at the time.
You were a kid.
Yeah, and I mean, they were so lenient about letting people just come in and browse. But yeah, they were wonderful. Julius,
Did they sell candy?
they did, but I never was allowed to buy candy. No, my aunt was very health conscious.
Ah.
She was one of the first vegans, I think.
Really?
Yeah, she was way before her time. My mother's sister. Yeah, she was into all kinds of things that are popular now that were really avant-garde in her time.
What was her name?
Margaret White.
Whose house you lived in?
Yeah,
Right.
yes, yeah. So, but one of the characters I remember, and I was thinking about that this morning, was Parker Harmon. Has anybody mentioned him?
Not yet.
He was the police chief, or constable, or something like that. And he had sort of a drinking problem. So you never knew what condition he was going to be in. And he had this, what's this now, Walsh's gas station
Yes.
up here. That was his gas station. I don't know if it was a gas station at that time, it might have been. But that's where he was, his office. And he always had a lot of stories. He was wonderful. He told stories, but you never knew what to expect from him. You never knew what condition he was going to be in. And there was a dog, a collie, Bonnie Lassie, and I never, even thinking about it now, I'm not sure whether it was our dog or Parker's dog. Because it used to trade its time. It would spend time up there, lying in the sun in the driveway, and then it would spend days with us, lying in our driveway. So I really don't know whose dog it was, but we shared it. It was fun. So, and then those days, the dogs could roam free because, I mean, it wasn't, I don't imagine it ever had a collar on, you know, it just kind of went back and forth and nobody cared. So.
I'm trying to think who else is sort of a character. Ted Falcon, the chief of police.
Yeah, Ted Falcon, yes, yeah. I think some of this was when I was away from 55 to 77.
Oh, okay.
So a lot happened within those years.
Certainly. During those years, did you come back in the summer? Or not really?
No, because we went to Panama. You know, my husband was ship.
Was in that
So, yeah,
service.
he was in the Bicentennial Band. Actually, he was the command sergeant major of the Bicentennial Band that toured the States.
How exciting.
Yeah, in 1975. So,
Are you a musician?
I'm a wannabe.
What is your instrument?
No, I don't play. I mean, I took piano lessons very young, but I never really got adept at it. And he plays so many instruments. He's such a wonderful musician. But we put together a group early on, probably early 80s, where he accompanied a couple of people and myself, and we did singing. We did it. We had a little trio. And he would play for us, and it was fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Did you play here in town?
Pardon?
Did you play here in town, like at the church, or?
Well, he was also affiliated with a lot of different bands, and the one that he actually, he met, oh my goodness, when the store, not the last people who owned the store, but somewhere in the 70s, early 80s, there was a couple that owned the store, and they put all that furniture, that big heavy, what's that furniture? The oak furniture, and they had a piano in the front of the store.
That's unusual.
Yeah, and for some reason, we went into the store one day and he sat down and started playing, and they hired him. So he would play on Saturday nights or something, and then one night Alan Dean walked in, and Alan said, got out his horn, and the two of them were a pair.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So the store used to have dinners? I mean, was
I
it a
think they did.
restaurant?
They served dinners. Yeah, I wasn't too involved in that, but
Well, how much fun to have
yeah.
live music,
Yeah.
local talent.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you need more? Is that it?
No, but I know where to find you.
Pardon?
I know where to find
You know
you.
where to find me.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm so bad.